Hello, my friends. Hi, how are you? My name is Natasha. I'm the creator and the founder of the Glow Up Method, and I am so stinking excited to be here with you today. Yes! So today's subject that I have been pondering upon has been redirection, right? So we're in our car, we're driving along, and my chair is gonna keep squeaking, so I'm gonna scoot up here. I'm hecka close, so I don't know here. We're gonna redirect me and your attention, please. Here we go. We are in our car, cruising along. We got the navigation on, sunroof open, good vibes on the radio, and all of a sudden something comes along, right? And all of a sudden you're seeing the time tick up. A redirection is being audibly told to you. Perhaps there's road work. Perhaps there's an accident. Perhaps there is a, detour. And next thing you know, you're off the expected path to be on. And sometimes it catches us off guard. Like, I know for me, I'm like, what? Now this is add more time, I'm efficient. I got this going. This wasn't in the plans. Like, it was a very simple thing. And now what do? Do I listen to the redirection? Do I stubbornly stay in the lane and be like, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to stay here, or, whatever it is. And so sometimes you have no choice, right? There's a roadblock. The freeway's shut down completely. What are you going to do besides poke yourself in the eyeball like I just did? You have to redirect, right? And so now you find yourself on this path that wasn't expected, that, you weren't wanting to be on, and there you are. And now what do you do? And suddenly you can see things differently. Now you have different, trees and houses, like your environment has shifted. And so the reason I'm thinking a lot about redirection today is because of my son Dylan. So again, like I said, last year on June 23rd, tore his ACL. Leading up to that, if you don't know what an ACL is, I didn't know what it was either. It is the arterial crucial ligament, known as the ACL. A lot of footballers, basketball players, soccer, or footballers, if you still call it football for soccer, a lot of athletes, dancers, cheerleaders, volleyball, netball. There's so many different ones that skiers, another common place to tear your ACL. It happens, and it's a very common sports related injury. And the unfortunate thing about it is a very long recovery. And leading up to it, my son and I had multiple conversations. I have these conversations with my kids, in particular around their junior, senior year, sophomore, and always leading up to it. So it's not just this random questions and things like that. And I really started to question my son, because he was playing his video game soccer version of soccer very casually. He was, playing with friends, doing this thing called a weekend league, which meant they were like, he tries to win so many games, and then you get a little prize at the end, and all the kids play it. And he was doing that, but he was also, playing his soccer and going to school and refereeing. Like, he was doing a lot of different things at that time. And it was summertime, and I will admit I have not always been the biggest supporter of video gaming, just consuming. If you want to be a contributor, like, now we're talking, it's a different ball game. But again, whether it be you're just consuming, social media or one of those things, like, I'm always like an inventor, an entrepreneur. So maybe I don't always have the courage to do things myself, but like, my brain is like, hey, I want you to be better than I was. So here, like, fine, if you want to be on YouTube all day, like, great, stream, like, do it, but then also stream it, like, also create content. Don't just consume, was always my kind of, my little spiel to them. And so I remember specifically last summer, this was prior to his injury, sitting down with him, and I was like, here it was, he had, stayed up all night playing games, and he wasn't going out and training. And I was like, hey, so like, you're really good from what I hear at this. And like, he was just very casual at this time, but like, my older son, who was also very good before, but he hung up his controller, was like, yeah, he's actually got talent. His biggest obstacle is his mental space. Like, when he gets down, or, when somebody scores on him, he has some, challenges overcoming those things. And even though he has the skill, he doesn't necessarily have the mental maturity. He's 16, 17, like at this time. So no shocker, right? So, you know, I have a conversation with him, like very seriously. I'm like, so what is it? Like, where do you see yourself? Like, where, you know, what are your plans? Is it, you know, soccer? Is it, you know, the gaming? Is it, you know, something totally different, engineering? You know, like, what do you think? And he was like, I love soccer. Like, soccer is my number one. He's like, but I really also like the gaming. And, you know, and I was like, you know, it's hard. Like, it's hard. Like, I've spoke on here before. Like, it's hard to be the best mom I can be and sacrifice and give all this time and put all this energy in it, and also be a really good content creator, and also be a really good dancer in my class, like an athlete, or, you know, because there's such a limited amount of time, you know, that I could be good at. Like, I could be a good mom. I don't need to be the best mom, right? Like, that a good mom is good. Like, lucky you got a good mom, you know, like, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay being a good dancer. I don't need to be the best dancer. I'm not going on Dancing with the Stars or anything. Sure, call me, you know, if you want me, I'm available. I'd love it. I'd have fun, but I'm not competing for anything, right? Like, content creator, I haven't got it out there yet, so let's see what goes on with that, because I have so many things. I'm spending at minimum 5 to 6 hours with my kids at doctor's appointments a week, and that doesn't seem like a lot, but it takes a lot. It's a chunk in the middle of the day. It's not determined by me. It's determined by their therapists' schedules and other people's injuries and their personal availability with their families and such not. So I say all that to say, you know, like, I was like, you're in this unique opportunity of life. For me personally, you have the safety and the security of your family to lean on. Now is the time to take the risk. So whatever that risk is, if it is you want to be in football, then really put that energy. Football is in soccer, but if you put that energy there, if you really want to do the gaming, do that energy there. I'm like, but sometimes your actions, and I remember this specifically, I was like, you know, you say you want to be a soccer player, but I haven't seen you play soccer in 5 days. Yet I've seen you invest at least 100 hours into the game. And I was like, sometimes the answer is there. And, you know, for him, like, that was a realization. And the next thing you knew, he was up at 5, 6 in the morning. He was out training. He'd go back again. He was doing more solo trainings. He was out there at like 105-degree heat. And I was like, okay, there's your answer. Like, he that's what he wants to do. Very shortly after that, he injured his hamstring, but he was like really pushing through. He's pushing himself through so much. You know, he went from 0 to 100 real quick, and his body was like, blah, you know, like, it's just a lot. And he then had an injured hamstring, but he still wanted to play, but put so much effort and energy into it. He went and played, and he tore his ACL at the very last minute, right before the half. Like, it was just unfortunate, right? And I was devastated. I'm not telling you, I can't explain the amount of PTSD. It was the timing, right? The summer before his senior year, he was playing on a semi-pro team. Things were finally going in instructions. He was speaking to D1 colleges. He was, you know, really taking it seriously, where he was practicing on his own and all these things. And in a snap of a finger and a snap and a pop of an ACL, everything got put on hold. It was this holding pattern, right? Like, it was this limbo land. It was like the dang pandemic. Like, suddenly everything was changing. We're getting locked down, shut down. Everything we knew as normal was shifted on its head and changed, right? So this whole identity, the whole persona, the social aspect, the fitness aspect, the direction that he was going was altered, right? It was like, you cannot cross here anymore. Like, you cannot run at all right now. You can walk in a straight line, but yeah, even that, your knee's gonna be buckling. And it was. And, you know, we did. And having this redirection that wasn't necessarily something he wanted has eventually turned into something so magical. Because again, I'm a big fan of the underdog story. I am a huge fan of a Cinderella story. Like, right? Like, we all have these parts of us that can relate to that, where something tragic has happened, and we've really been able to have the resilience and the wisdom and the courage to turn what would have been a tragedy into triumph. Like, we are not victims of what happens. We are victorious. Like, it did not happen to us. This is happening for us. And so, again, as we approach this August 4th date, which is the year anniversary of his surgery, I really wanted to take some time today to reflect on this journey that we're 365 years ago today. I was still having major PTSD. I wasn't sleeping at night. I would literally have panic attacks about it. I was so upset about all the losses that we'd have, the lost soccer season, the lost high school season, the lost companionships, like friendships and things like that, the lost college opportunities, all these losses that were associated with a pop of an ACL. And what I didn't see at that time, and now in hindsight, I can reflect on just how much more has been gained. And this is not to say that everybody who tears their ACL is going to go on and have these great things happen, but it's possible. It can happen. And he is proof of that. And I want people to know that for him, it's an ACL. And for you, it may be something different. And for, our young friend who is currently, having a spinal cord injury and doesn't have anywhere near the mobility he once have, there's victories. It is a redirection. Yes, it was this. None of this is what we saw happening or maybe even wanted to happen. Like my marriage, a few years ago when I knew things were not right and I had the courage to say something, I then also had the courage to be open-minded to work on it, as did he. And we both put effort in, and we both had a lot of hurt, and we both had a lot of miscommunications, and we both really did want it to succeed, but at the end of the day, it didn't. And that redirection of knowing that this just doesn't align with who I am anymore, this relationship, even though it's not something I wanted, it has been a blessing. Tearing Dylan's ACL, he wearing PT today for 2 hours with 2 kids, tearing it was not something he wanted, but it has redirected him, even if it is just temporarily. We don't know what the future holds. But as of right now, 365 days later, looking back in the rearview mirror and seeing how far he's come, he's taken this adversity. He has applied to colleges and got into some phenomenal schools. He also got denied from some too. So we're gonna, don't sugarcoat anything there. But he got into some phenomenal schools. He has learned so much about himself and what he wants to do and what are priorities to him and how to not feel like a sheeple and just do what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is going to college, they're supposed to do. Everybody else is partying. He doesn't want to do those things. He doesn't want to participate in those things. He's very focused and disciplined on what he wants to. So all those lessons he learned from being a teammate and for showing up and doing the work in the shadows, and when nobody's telling you to go out and do the work and you're doing it, it always comes to light. Whatever you do behind the scenes and nobody's telling you, when you meditate and nobody knows about it, it's not like there's a participation award, yay, unless you give yourself one and you want to celebrate it. Yeah, absolutely celebrate it. But nobody else is going to acknowledge it, but it will come to light because you'll be able to show up as a better version of yourself. And so we may not always like the redirection. We may be frustrated and sad and mad and things, or maybe we're curious and open-minded to see what possibilities may come from this. And so I say all that to say, again, we go back to this, how many days now? 365 days later from this, time in which he tore it. I was experiencing PTSD, also doing everything I can to support him, buying every damn thing I can find on Amazon because I had nothing but time to get through these 6 weeks. And, approaching the time to when he was going to have surgery, and just wanting to make sure that he was nurtured and supported as best as he could in that situation. So I was reading forums, so I know a lot about an ACL. I didn't know what a PCL, all those things. I just knew a football player got it and he was no longer on my fantasy football team for that season because he was out for a long time. That was all I knew. Now I know a lot more. I actually, yesterday, one of the dads of Tyler's teammate, he came up with crutches and knee, and he's like, so you're the knee woman. Here's what happened. I'm like, yeah, definitely. There was a pop. There was this where you was a contact, non-contact. And I was like, my professional, unprofessional opinion is, yeah, you better get into a doctor ASAPers. And not that there's a hurry, you could go live your life without an ACL, but if you're an active guy, which he is, you're going to want to get her done. But I say all that to say, the redirection. So, oftentimes we can think we have everything planned out and navigated and mapped out the way we want it, and things come up, right? And we're frustrated, and just understanding that change is okay and that good things can and will come out of it is really important. This redirection, right? Like, his life has done a 360 and 365, let's say. In 360, is it 360? Something about that. Like, we're doing a 360 and 360. Let's call it that. And here you are. Like, I'm blown away. Like, because it's like I preach these things, right? Like, I get on my Tasha talks with the kids. Like, here we are. And it works. Like, it actually works. And you have this proof and validation that there is nothing that has occurred that was by accident. There is nothing that wasn't meant to happen in his life. And then he's applied those principles, and he works really hard at the game and getting better and challenging himself. Like, I remember last year, he was doing these little qualifiers in the beginning of the year, and it's only like the first 128 players. And I was like, stalking it. I don't know what I'm watching, but again, I'm this mom who supported their kids through soccer, futsal, whatever it was, whatever sports they were playing, basketball, cheer, swimming, whatever they were doing, I was supporting them. And so here I was, a very anti-video game person who had a softened heart after Dylan had brain surgery, because it was this form of community that he can interact with while he was still homeschooling. So it wasn't just like he was isolated. He couldn't go out. So it was just like this way to be with his friends after school and goof around and be a kid again and not think about things. So I did allow that, which was a huge game for me to allow. And then it kind of softened my heart to see a side that my judgment, my preconceived notions might be wrong. And so I opened up my heart to it. And then again, with this, I really got involved. We were like, there's these things called packs, and, he'd have me open it and try to guess who it was. Be like, what nation is it? And I didn't know what the heck the flags were. These kids are so good with the flags because of this game. They know every nation. I'm like, I don't know, maybe Bulgaria. I don't know. Like, I'm like, I think Denmark it could be. And they're just giggling when they look. They're like, Mom, no, this is da. But I'm guessing the players. I'm learning the lingo, and I'm spending the time with him, being a supportive person in his life for this thing that I really didn't get. And so as he continued on, and I was like, oh wow, at one point, he was like 30 something. I was like, oh my gosh, he's like 30 something in the whole North America. Like, no, he actually is decent. Like, oh my gosh. And I'm watching certain players. I'm like, oh, he's the best one. Like, and then my son's like, no, this one's the best one. And so we would have these like debates back and forth, like which one was actually the best one. And I was like, no, he is. And he was like, you haven't even seen him play. I'm like, no, I know it just by the name, by the way he's moving up in the ranks. Like, it's gotta be him. And so, we would, he's like, you're so funny. And I'd be like, yeah, this one, just as long as you're higher than this kid, then you're good. Like, you won the whole thing or whatever. So he actually had done well. And then even at one point, he was like number 7 for like a day. And then he was like number 1 for a day. I was like, no way. Like, seeing his name up there first, like, heck no, like, this is crazy. And so this was like early on, like he had only been playing like, a lot because he was now homeschooling himself again. He was playing a lot. And so he was getting this little competitive edge, and he got knocked out pretty early. Then there was another one, and he made it pretty far, but then he still got knocked out. And, to where he has come now. And it's really a challenge because we're in a different continent. Like, there isn't a lot of players on even this side of the country for him to play with. So like, there's like internet things and things. I'm like, you can't just play somebody in Australia. He's like, no, the connection is too terrible. You like, literally, you can't do anything. You can't move. I'm like, explain it to me, like, I don't get it, but I get it now. So all I was saying all this to say and giving you all this technical stuff you don't need is like, there is a way. And I know that you're facing things, and you're, maybe it's a relationship you didn't want to end. Like, maybe it's a job that you just really thought you would be at for a long time, and they're going bankrupt and closing their doors. Like, there's so many things that can occur in life and catch us off guard, right? And redirecting. You could be just driving down the street and you're going to the gym and suddenly, it's redirecting you a whole different route. But if you keep an open mind to the change and not get flustered by the fact that there is change happening, it really allows this place for magic to happen. I am telling you, nothing short of magic is happening for my son. The fact that he is getting this opportunity, it blows my mind away. I look at the list and you see all the nations that are being represented. And like, there's this like sense of pride. And I think it's really hard, as an American sometimes to feel the pride, right? Like when somebody asks your nationality, it's about where you're from. So it's like Russian, Italian, Chinese, whatever it is, Mexican, any of those things. And you're not American. Like, and my kids by all sense are born in this country. This is all they know. They don't even associate with any of the family members that have the heritage information and all that stuff, even though we're not even that far, like, off, like my dad is 100%, what he is. And so like, it's crazy to me to think that, like, and I might be, maybe because the Olympics are starting today, but it's like one of those times where you have this national pride, like there is a whole country of people that are supporting you in this thing that like know about esports or whatever, but like you are the one representative, and that like isn't lost on me. Like that is like this sense of pride to be like, out of everybody in this country, you were the one chosen. In some countries like France had 3 people in this qualifier, and other countries have many or whatever, but he's just one of the United States of America. And so to see the USA flag next to his name, it's important. And he always told me he would play in a World Cup, and I'm gonna get a little emotional. And I think when he hurt himself, it felt like, and I know there's a lot of famous, I mean, the female Rapinoe, she's, I think, torn 3 ACLs. Neymar's coming out of his right soon. There's, from USA, Des just got one right now. And there's no saying that you can't come back. But Dylan has had other physical challenges, brain tumors, broken elbow surgery, shin splints, torn hammies, an ACL. Like there's been a lot of broken bones, broken thumb. I can't even remember them all. There's been so many, and he's been so limited in how much he's played, and that's all been from the age of 12 to 17. And so when he was a little kid, he would tell me, Mom, I'm gonna play in the World Cup one day. And I will believe him. Like, I really do. I will always be the person to be your biggest supporter. Like, whatever your dreams are, I believe you can. If you believe it, you will get it. Like, if you put in the work, it's not just I believe and I sit back and suddenly it's going to come to me. But I made this vision board this year, and it's filled with travel. And some way, somehow, when I made that board, I had no idea of how many places on there I would have checked off. It wasn't even in the like realm of this may happen. Like it just wasn't even things in my thought process. But my life has redirected as a result of the redirections of my kids. And so I think sitting here when I was like, do I go? Do I not go? And all this stuff is just realizing that if my son makes it out of the qualifiers, he's going to fulfill his prophecy. He will, I would say when he, does that, he will be playing in a World Cup. Now, will it be the World Cup, like a physical World Cup? No, but this is still an esports World Cup. And that's huge. That is huge to me. Like he believed that into existence. He worked that into existence. He is making that happen. He is creating the life he is proud of. And he's not doing it according to my terms or anyone else's. And that's why I say he has the luxury of being my third born. My firstborn, if you would have said some of this stuff into this, I'd be like, no, you need to go to college first, then you can do this, then you can do this. No. And I would have discouraged him along the way. But this son has the benefit of my own personal growth, my own transformation, my own redirection. And I'm not even saying my first. I was still very supportive of everything. And still, I am so proud of him. Like, he is Mr. Over Here, fantasy football creator, Walter Picks, 49ers Brad. Like, love him, adore him. He is out there killing it every single day, doing what he's doing, hustling his grind on there too. And so I'm dig nothing from him. But I really did parent differently, and I think that he is definitely the beneficiary of my changes, as well as I am, right? And the timing was perfect for him in his life. And so again, I am really looking forward to going to Saudi Arabia and watching my son compete in the World Cup, because that's what he promised he would do, and so that's what I know he's going to do. And so it's really a beautiful time that I would have never ever imagined possible 365 days ago. I never would have imagined that him playing this game would have taken him to Germany, would have potentially took him to Spain, but he backed out of Spain so that he could go to Germany, would have taken him to Dallas, would have taken him to Sweden and Amsterdam. Like, I would have never known this game. It had taken him from hell and presented him with a heaven. Like, had he not had this game to have this platform where he could take his competitive nature and his tenacity and his determination and been able to still do it, I don't know where he would have been. I don't know what he would have done. He tried coaching. It wasn't the same feeling, and it was fine, but it was also really challenging for him to be up and around and on the leg for that long. He couldn't referee, and there's so many things that he was unable to do. He would go to all the games and things like that, but then he would be very sore. So here was this thing that in a way really shined it within him and really in a way saved him. And so I am forever grateful for this gaming community who, again, he had the courage when he was just absolutely a nobody in the thing to like reach out to the, I was like, just reach out and ask him, like, I've played you now, like, what's your feedback? What do you think I could do better and more? Like, I want to be pro. What can I do? And to like, when, usually you tell your kids this stuff and they're like, yeah, mom. But 8 out of 10 times he would do it. He would reach out. I'm like, you did? Like, it was like something I would say I would do, like, I'm going to reach out to Oprah and be like, how do you, be an amazing, talk show host or something like that. And I don't have maybe I'm a talk show, but not really. But like, like I'm just saying for an example. And I'd be like, oh, that's what you do. And then he did it, and like, be like, dang, I wouldn't have even done that, So it's like, it's really cool to see. And then the guy was like, oh, maybe this. And then like to start to like cultivate different relationships with these people based on this courage and this thing. And so there really hasn't been a stone unturned. He's sent emails to organizations. He's sent tweets. He has left himself to be very vulnerable and say, hey, like, here I am, come watch me stream on Adidas FIFA, on, all the socials, Twitch, all these things. You want to go like and subscribe, go for it. But it's no shameless little plugs here for my 2 kiddos that are streaming. And the other 2 are probably going to be, just a very, very modern family nowadays. But I say all that to say, like, your dreams are possible. And I know there's things and there's obstacles and there's redirections and sometimes we're a little nervous and we didn't really want that. And we really see at the end of the day, these redirections are for our benefits. And, the closed doors really do open up others. And so stick with it, stick with the process. Don't be so focused on the losses and of course you're able to mourn those, but also be so grateful for the gains. Again, I have a ton of perspective since our little friend's, spinal cord injury, where like if I start to feel overwhelmed or I can't make a decision or things, and I'm like, honestly, just breathe. Like, the fact that I can independently breathe is such a gift. And I am so appreciative of it. I am so grateful for it because I know in the blink of an eye, that can change. And so having this wisdom and resilience to even take the most challenging situations and know this is for my benefit. This is happening for me and not to me will allow you to see all the possibilities with this new uncharted path that you find yourself on. So I say all that to say thank you so much for tuning in to me today. I am so proud of you. I want to hear all about your redirections. Please comment below. Let me know. Send me a DM, all those things. And I'm just really proud of you. And I hope that you are proud of you and you are beginning to cultivate and craft, design, and execute on that life that you are proud of. So thank you so much. Please go out there today, give somebody a big smile, give them a compliment, and just watch how they glow up. So thank you. Bye.